Serious and silliness brings you powerlifting goddess, Jeannie Nutter. How you doing, Jeannie?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Good, good, good. I'm so glad you could do this. It's fantastic. I'm a huge fan of strength sports,
Awesome.
which shows in my podcast because the majority of my interviews are elite powerlifters, bodybuilders, arm wrestlers, and I'm trying to like get other people on. I'm getting some good people on here and there from other facets of life, but my love and my passion has always been the power sports.
Yes.
And from a good source, I was told that you are an elite lifter.
I guess I am. Yes.
So why don't you tell us, throw out some numbers. Let's see how good you really are. Let's from because the person
So,
that told me was a world record holder.
yes, she's awesome.
Oh, she's fantastic.
She's my favorite person. So,
We're talking
uh,
about Rita West because I know she's going
yeah,
to watch this, so we'll give her props.
yes.
That's okay.
So in competition, my best squat is 606.
Wow.
My best bench is 308. My best pull is, I think, 505.
So when you say
Um,
pull, you mean deadlift?
yes.
So your best squat is 606. At what body weight was that?
One.
148. But that was actually recently broken, right?
Yes. So Rita had the record forever.
Yeah.
And then Heidi Howard actually just wrecked the record. She, in like a 148 span. She's doing.
Heidi Howard. What did she
Yes.
actually squat at? 148 pounds. I mean, Rita's was what, 675?
Yes, I think she did 685. Or
Jesus Christ.
yeah. So, it's 148s are getting very competitive. There's a lot of girls showing up, and it always has been a really good weight class to be at, with a lot of women kind of pushing some heavy weight.
Yeah. But listen, 606 is nothing to sneeze at. I mean, okay, I'm nowhere near an elite lifter, but my best squat was 545 and I'm 200 pounds. And you are weigh a lot less than me. And you
I
are a
have
hell of a lot stronger than me.
I have in the gym been able to take 700 and 725 for a ride with some bands. Um, high but still feeling the weight, which was pretty awesome. So
Wow.
hope to get to the higher weights again in competition next year.
And you know what is the most impressive for the 148 class? It's you can't see it. Like you don't see where the power comes from. So like when you get into the bigger girls or the bigger guys or whatnot, especially the men, like when you see like Eddie Hall, he looks like a mountain, he looks like a building, and you're like, God. But when you get to what to me, what's more impressive is the guys that are around 200 and the girls that are around like your weight, because it's like where does this power come from? Where do you generate this kind of power? So why don't you tell us, like, how do you generate? Were you always strong, or how do you generate that kind of power for somebody in such a small stature?
So I've played sports growing up, and then I kind of fell into lifting after running was not working for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like after college, I just ran because like what's to do. And I found lifting later. So I probably started lifting 20, no, 30 or so.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just I'm like an all guts all the time kind of person. So I would go to the gym and like I started finding lifting weights. So I was like, how much can I lift? Right. And then
Mm-hmm.
that fell in and found in some other power lifters. And that's, I learned conjugate method and using a lot of bands and chains and, percentages of what the weight you're doing and how hard you're doing at your accessories and stuff. And, I attribute a lot of it to having been very lucky to be around a lot of really awesome lifters who have taught me really awesome things,
Mm-hmm.
good coaches, and great training partners. So like building the muscles up to be able to handle that tension, is just so much more around how much training you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it is, I've been athletic. I've been fortunate enough to be athletic for, my whole life. So I guess that's kind of my answer for it.
Okay. So when you first started lifting, and you just, before you knew form, before you knew strategy, before you had great people in your corner teaching you, were you just naturally strong?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so, right? Because that's like where it comes from. For example, I was in the gym yesterday and there was a kid there. He's, he looked like in shape, but nothing crazy. And I know these numbers aren't great for you, but he was benching 315, but he was repping it, right? He was repping it. He must have got, I don't know, 6 or 8 reps. But he didn't look like much. He looked like a guy that was in shape, right?
Yeah.
So I said to him, you should really consider powerlifting. I mean, you obviously generate that kind of power. And he's like, I don't know, and blah, blah, blah. But what I'm trying to say is it seems like you go in the direction where you're gifted. So, okay, so Jeannie Nutter is very strong. So let's take it and ride with it and see how far we could take it.
I definitely enjoyed it a lot because I was good at it.
Yeah.
I would go in the gym and lift weights, and it was, impressive and a lot. And I just kept chasing more numbers. I was very, fortunate that I was strong to start with when I got into this.
So when you squatted 606, can you explain how that felt? Because I could only imagine your eyes popping out of your head.
It's a lot of pressure.
Okay.
A lot of bracing the body to just hold the weight. But it's this thing, once I pick the weight, if I'm tight enough, like I should be when I'm picking it, you don't really feel too much of it.
Really?
Right. It's just so much tightness in your body and so much bracing in your body. Obviously you feel the weight, but there's more of a tightness throughout your body. So coming out of the hole is where you feel like your head's going to explode. Or at the last end of your breath, you're pushing through some solid weight. And you feel like you're about to pop. But obviously I lift equipped. So the equipment also puts a lot of pressure on the body too, which is what makes you feel even more like your head's going to explode.
Okay. So what was the threshold where when you have that weight on your back, you think to yourself, holy shit, this is a lot of weight on my back? Was there a number that you passed up where it was like, all right, I am in another territory here?
So my very first meet was at my home gym, equipped. My first meet was at my home gym. And I don't know, I had squatted like 5 something in the gym with my equipment. And then I got to the meet day and I squatted 585 first meet. And I was just like, this is nuts. This is going to be awesome. This is going to be so much fun. But then definitely, obviously reaching 600 for the first time was like a huge wow, especially since, I weigh, I walk around about 155. And so, it's just so much more than I weigh. It's a big number to kind of come around. For bench, the first number that was really like, I had finally like did something was 225 when I did that raw. Because, 2 plates is like a big deal for anybody. And then being a girl made it even more awesome,
Absolutely. A girl at 148 pounds. And how tall are you?
I'm 5'3".
That's like, you're very muscular, but you're basically a small person.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean, where it makes it more impressive. Like when you see like Julius Maddox benching close to 800 pounds, but when you see him in person, he is the largest human being I've ever seen in my life. So you kind of like assume he can move that kind of weight. But when you look at somebody like yourself, or even Rita, when she was in the prime, not now, Rita now looks like, she's ready to win the Miss Olympia contest. But even when she was in her prime powerlifting, she didn't have that kind of muscle that she has on now. And it was like that amount of power that you're able to assimilate in your presses is astounding, because you're a small person. And to me, that's much more impressive than the guy who weighs 400 pounds that's, squatting to 800, right? I mean,
both are totally exciting and impressive in their own right, because I look at people like Cassette Neely, who's tiny, right? Across 3 classes is holding all-time records, right? She's squatting so much more than her body weight, But then
what's her name?
Cassette Neely.
Cassette Neely. Okay, I'm listening.
And then also out of Sweatshop, there's Leah, who's huge. She's just is squatting massive amounts of numbers. She broke the all-time world record, for the hugest squat. The numbers that come out of, both extremes is just astounding to me. What people can push is just amazing to me. I get what you're saying. Like, it's like the little ant, right? The ant can lift so much more than their body weight and carry more. But when you see a woman, messing around with over 900 in her training videos, it pumps you up so much.
All right, so Leah broke the all-time world record for what? Tell me.
For squat.
And how much was that?
I want to say she did 880.
What is it?
I want to say she did 880.
Mamma mia. Jesus Christ. What's her last name?
Reitman.
Okay. Reitman. All right. So let's get back to you.
Yeah.
Like I said, to me, I don't know, maybe you know why I think, honestly, I personally think it's more impressive because I've always been a smaller guy. Like I'm not a big person. Like I'm 5'8", I'm 200 pounds. I mean, I've always been into bodybuilding. Even when I was a kid, my favorite bodybuilder was Sean Ray, who was a small bodybuilder. I always like loved Ronnie Coleman, don't get me wrong, but I could always relate to Sean Ray more. It's like, oh, well, that's almost like attainable, which obviously it isn't. So I think I could relate to somebody like yourself more, where it's like, okay, she's very powerful. I could kind of relate to it because, in comparison, I'm like the same size, as far as a man goes. Right. So I think that's why, to me, it's been so impressive. Is it the same time and energy and strategy that you have to put in for you to achieve those numbers as it is for the larger lifters?
Yes.
So it's the same. So it's not, they don't have it any easier.
No, they're doing just as much working. I do a 6-day program. I know a lot of those lifters are also doing 6-day programs with conditioning on top of it. So definitely working just as hard. Now there's some people who are just, they've been doing this so long and they are just genetic freaks that can just, do less work and still be as strong. But for the most part, across the board, I think everybody works really, really hard, to the meets that we show up at, just in their own right, whatever that is.
So tell us some of the championships, some of the meets that you've been at where you've really like taken it by storm.
So I've been in WPO 3 times. The last time I bombed, which sucked, I rolled my ankle on my squat.
Oh, that sucks.
It really did suck.
Yeah, sorry to hear that.
How much it messed with my head until months afterwards when my ankle was healing. But then, I think my favorite meet that I've done equipped so far was nationals, which was my second meet. I competed with Rita. I was figuring out my bench shirt that meet. I still hadn't touched in it. There were just some great guys around that were really willing to saw that I was struggling in warm-ups and jumped in and helped me. And that's how I stayed in the meet, was those, the awesome help I got from so many people. And I think too, that one of the things that I've learned, especially in the equipped community, everybody's there to help everybody. I know I can message just about anybody and be like, hey, X, Y, and Z, how's your equipment? How does this work? What's your experience with it? And everybody's very open with, helping each other to get better, because I think especially in equipped, the harder you're going means the harder I have to go, because it is a smaller community of lifters.
There's great camaraderie in powerlifting. There seems to be great camaraderie in powerlifting, great camaraderie in arm wrestling, not such great camaraderie in bodybuilding. With the exception, from what I understand, with the exception of women's bodybuilding, not figure, not bikini, not physique, but women's actual bodybuilding, I think has the most camaraderie. But for the most part, bodybuilding is more of a selfish sport, where it looks like powerlifting. It's great camaraderie, great camaraderie.
A lot of camaraderie, and maybe that's because it's the judges judge, and they're either it is or it isn't. It's nobody else gets to judge what you're doing until you get on that platform.
Right.
And arm wrestling, I know a couple of good arm wrestlers too, who used to be powerlifters, and it looks like an awesome community too, from what I follow with them.
Well, yeah, it is, because they don't make much money, and like 98% of them have to work full time, and it's more of a hobby. So they don't care about giving each other. Like I've interviewed like elite arm wrestlers, and they say, yeah, no, I will actually talk to the guy I'm competing with next week about how we're going to do, about how, you know, how to do this, how to do that. And it's like,
Yeah.
really? Yeah. And it's a little different. And I, you know, like for example, I interviewed Paul Lynn, who's an elite arm wrestler. And if I know that if I wanted to, I
Yeah.
could take a ride to Pennsylvania and he would teach me for nothing. I know,
Yep.
right? But if I wanted to, you know, if I wanted to, you know, get a training session with like, you know, Phil Heath, oh, I better get my checkbook ready, boy. It ain't gonna be cheap. You know, but so back to you now. I saw this one video that actually got me a little nervous. You did a deadlift and you passed out.
Yes.
All right. So why don't you explain what happened there?
So there's a couple reasons. I've also lost it on squats before. It's when I squat and I get lightheaded and pass out, I have discs in my neck that are bulging. So there's 3 in a row. And sometimes when the bar is pressed up just so against the bottom of them, I go lights out.
Oh,
Deadlifting, usually, it's only happened twice, I think, while I was deadlifting. And that's just because my central nervous system is shutting down. Like I've literally maxed my body to the top.
wow.
And it's just my body shuts down and I start shaking. Don't really know what's going on. And or if you finish the lift, I've done that before too, especially squatting, where I didn't know if I actually finished it. And then I catch my breath and they're like, yeah, you did it on your own. So yeah.
Besides passing out and breaking your ankle, what other injuries have you had?
I've hurt my back. My hip is a little jacked up, but I have rheumatoid arthritis. So I have issues with joints, especially. And that's actually why I stopped running too, was because I was having problems with my knees. I've had 3 knee surgeries. Like so I've had some injuries along the way before I got into lifting. That kind of have come out more as I've been lifting too. And my hip being one of them.
Okay. Is this stopping you from competing, or are you still going strong?
So unfortunately this summer I hit a wall with my arthritis. I took a couple weeks off. I've had some inflammation. So I'm finally getting to a point where I can squat now. Again, I'm still benching. Benching is going great.
That's good.
I just doubled 275 to a 1 board last week, which was awesome.
That's fantastic. And how much do you weigh?
155 right now.
And you're 5'3" and you're benching 275. Yeah, that's great. It's unbelievable. That's unreal.
Benching is my favorite thing right now, just because it's going really well at the moment. And so, yeah, I've had some bumps and bruises along the way, and it's, I'm finally getting to a point where I can squat and I can deadlift now, at least off rack. So I'm hoping I can continue in this direction so that next year I'll at least be benching in competition.
Good. So what do you say to people, like a person who's not in your world, maybe family or friends? What do you say to people that say, why do you want to do this? You're just going to hurt yourself. What do you explain? How do you explain it to them?
We all have our vices. At least mine's showing up and going to the gym.
That's a good one. Okay.
I hear it all the time, or I hear people say, I don't want to grow muscles. And, it's to each their own. Right. I enjoy it. I have such a passion for it. It gives me such a drive. It's part of what my family knows me for. My kids have been in the gym with me. My kids have competed. So it's, it's not for everybody, but everybody should find something that keeps them active and healthy. And lifting is my thing. Okay.
That's a good answer. I got to remember that next time my mother tells me, why am I still working out? Because I had 3 bulging discs and spinal stenosis, and I had to get what is it? I had to get it fused.
Oh.
I had to get it removed, replaced with bone and fused just in October, And then my mother, was 80, is this little old 86-year-old Italian lady, like, why do you still want to do that? You're going to hurt yourself again, blah, 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 whatever. Anyway. So what is the future like for Jeannie Nutter? Where do you, besides benching, where do you think you're going to go? When's your next meet?
I don't have a meet picked yet.
Okay.
Because I I need to be in a place where I know I feel solid walking in on the platform. So I have not picked it out yet.
Okay.
With my coach to figure out when that's going to be. I'm hoping sometime, next spring. But again, it's just going to depend on where my numbers are, and it may be a bench only in the spring.
Okay.
But I'm really excited because I'm looking to get into a band shirt too now. I don't know
Band
if you've,
shirt.
yeah. So
I might have explained it.
there's the traditional multiply shirt, right? Which is
Right.
multiple layers of canvas or whatever material it is. Now there's band shirts out, which are basically canvas shirt, except for where the canvas part is on your chest and your chest plate and your arms is a band.
Oh yeah, okay. I've seen it. I didn't know that's what they call it, but I've seen it.
Yes. So I'm definitely interested in getting into one of those soon too.
Okay.
See what I can.
Have you ever lifted raw, or you always lifted equipped?
I lifted raw for 3 years before I got into gear. The reason why I transitioned, I kind of hit numbers that I thought I would never hit raw. And knowing knowing the sensitivity of my body and my joints for my rheumatoid arthritis, I knew I was going to eventually get into equipped, and that's how I got into it.
Okay.
When I was raw, my numbers were, I squatted 4, bench 240, pulled 450.
That's still astounding. And from what I understand, there is some tension between people that are hardcore raw lifters and the hardcore equipped lifters. And then there are people like yourself who go, well, I do both. So, or even like Rita. I understand apparently this is like Rita is like, how can I say this? She's like this, there are stories about her that you could only believe if you see. Like how can I like it's kind of like do you remember Braveheart, right? Where he has the horse and everybody's going, that's not William Wallace. William Wallace is 7 foot tall, and right. It's Rita kind of has stories like that. So I understand that she actually, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure Bob Merck told me this, that she actually broke a world record equipped, and then in the same meet did a raw lift to qualify to get to the Arnold Classic powerlifting.
I don't doubt it. Rita is a machine. So the thing with Rita, so when I first started raw lifting, my very first meet, came out and lifted. I had a great time. I met some awesome women who really helped motivate me to continue lifting. And of course, they say you broke a record, so of course you go look up records now, because that's a cool thing. And Rita had all of them in my weight class, and I was like, I'm gonna get her. Like, I'm gonna face these numbers.
Sure.
And started following her, and like I looked all of her numbers up, and of course, got in equipped the same thing, because she's so fierce. No matter what she goes after, she's fierce. And she's so willing to give so much of that back to the community. You look at the gym that she has, how welcoming she is, how much information she shares. She's come to meets and helped me call my numbers. She's just always willing to be there for another lifter who's looking to learn something. So she is just always somebody I admired, and it's just the coolest thing in the world to be able to call her one of my friends. Because not just as a lifter, but as a person, she's fierce. And she's just willing to give a lot back to the community. And that's what powerlifting really survives on, is lifters like her always willing to turn around and give back.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's obviously working, because the numbers that you've put up and your determination is next to none from what you're telling me, and from what I understand, from what other people tell me, it works. So if that's what helps, and the companionship and the camaraderie helps, then by all means, because you seem to be doing it well. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good.
Not bad, right? Not bad. All right. So there's a couple of things that came out in the last couple of days in powerlifting. And since you're my powerlifting guest today, let's talk about it. Well, the first obvious one is the Julius Maddox, Daniel Zamani bench press lift. They are very, very close in numbers. I believe Zamani is 277 and Maddox is 777, and Maddox is 782.
Yes.
So what do you think about that? Apparently they're going to have a bench off and
I mean, I think the bench off is an awesome idea.
me
There's
too.
nothing like that direct competition. Everybody wants to see it. They want to be part of it. I mean, I think it sounds like a great idea.
Hmm.
Sounds like a lot of fun to watch. Um, I mean, it's tight. It's
I
tight.
know.
It's I think being on the lifting competing side of it, knowing that all it takes is like one day, one muscle not firing correctly, or you sleep on your neck wrong, and it could
Hmm.
mess up the whole day. I mean, it's because they're so close. I really do think it's a toss up.
Yeah, I agree. And I watched Zamani bench the 777 and he did it easy. And when I mean easy, it just went up. And I'm like, wow, this is. And I also watched Julius Maddox try 790 and he kind of failed. So it's like it's really neck and neck. And I like that idea because I mean, let's face it, rivalries uh, create viewers. That's the truth, right? I mean, I wouldn't even know who Zamani is unless because he's from was he from Iran or something like that?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and because he's from Iran, I wouldn't even know who he is if this didn't happen, right?
Right.
There's a lot of great lifters coming out of the Middle East. I mean, and they are just monsters. I mean, monsters. Um, I actually had King Kamali on and he we were talking about why, why did I send you that? Did I send you that clip?
I don't remember.
I'll send it to you. King Kamali, as you probably know, was an elite bodybuilder during the early 2000s, and he actually said it a few years back on an interview on RX Muscle. He said, I think about 10 years ago, he said, watch and see the talent that's going to come out of the Middle East. And I only had him on like a couple of months ago, and I said, how did you know? And he basically said the ease of steroid use and the amounts that these guys are willing to take are just out of control, and the best genetics in the world. Because he said that because you got to remember, Iran was Persia, and they had tremendous military, and their bloodline is just tremendous genetics, so on and so forth. The other thing that's happening in the powerlifting world, this is, and I hope you're on the same page as me. And I mean, if you're not, it's okay. But I have a how can I say this? I have a pet peeve is when guys that are elite in something just jump into something else because it's a big payday. So you have the Mountain now who is trying to be a boxer, right? And he was going to fight Eddie Hall, and now Eddie Hall is no longer fighting him. He got hurt or something to that effect, and now he's fighting an arm wrestler, Devin Larry. Did you hear about this?
I didn't hear about this.
Yeah, Devin Larry, who's pretty much the greatest arm wrestler in the world, and Thor was pretty much the strongest man in the world, are now having a boxing match next month. Ugh, I don't know. I mean, I hope they're getting paid well. I'm sure they are, but
I'm sure they are, and that's absolutely why they're doing it.
yeah, it's no question. Because you'd have to, I wouldn't start talking about getting in the ring with Thor. What I can't remember I can't even pronounce his real name until you break the seven figure. Then I could start negotiating because there's no way I'm getting in the ring with him for less than $1 million. There's my hospital bills will be more than that.
The thing is like going from one strength sport to another. So like if you're doing like CrossFit to powerlifting, which I don't recommend, but whatever, CrossFit to powerlifting to bodybuilding, whatever, like those are strength sports, right? At the end of the day, we're around weights. Going from that to boxing, just because you're really strong and you can lift a lot of weight doesn't mean you can throw a punch and doesn't sustain a punch.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, this is Devin Larratt's first fight where Thor had a couple of exhibition fights already. And he's been training for Eddie Hall for about a year or so. And I'm like, why would he do that? And it's got to be the payday.
Money.
It's got to be. Yeah, it has to be. Yeah. Because there's no way.
He needs somebody to fight. He's been training for it. So it has to happen.
Yeah.
That's doctors that have been riding on it. That's absolutely what it has to do with.
Yeah, there's no question. Absolutely. It's got to be done. I don't think I'm going to be buying that. I don't think I'm going to be buying that pay-per-view. Yeah. So now you're on vacation. Because I'm going to let you go.
Yeah,
What are you doing on vacation? You just chilling with the fam, or?
just yeah, just keeping it low key. I'm at the beach. It's beautiful. We're
Good.
literally on the water. So just hanging out and enjoying time before I go back to work next week. I'm a teacher.
Very
So
nice. There's a lot of teachers in your sport. Bob Merck is a teacher too, right?
he is a teacher. There are a lot of us teachers that sneak around. Yes.
What do you teach that sneak around?
I have taught everything from math to PE to health, and this year I'll be teaching biology.
So you're like a Renaissance woman. You kind of you're tremendous in different categories.
I think a lot of teachers can kind of jump in and do a lot of different things. We're
Really?
gonna
I don't know. I don't know many teachers, female teachers that could squat over 600. I don't, you know.
that is true. My students do love that.
Are there teachers that like afraid of you? Like they don't want to like get into an argument with you during a conference? They're like, no, Jeannie, you're right. You're right.
You know what the thing is? I'm really like the nicest person in the world, unless you're
Mm.
like a huge asshole.
Right.
Evaluate why you're being an asshole to me,
Mm.
because then I'm not nice. But I love my students. Like I love teaching. They think it's awesome that I lift heavy weights and I talk about it and I show them videos. And when their parents come in and they're like, "Oh my God, my son or daughter has told me you lift all this weight." It's really cool. And it's really nice too that it gets them lifting. Like, it's been, I guess, 3 years now that I've had like this very small, lifting team where like, I lift with the kids a couple of days after school to teach basics of
Oh,
training.
that's
And
great.
yeah. So it's nice because they see me doing it and they've seen that I've had results, so they know that it's there. And these kids are strong. There's so much untapped talent.
There really is. I couldn't agree with you more, because it's proven with people like yourself who break records, and then the next group generation comes in and then break those records.
Yep.
Right. What
Yep.
age bracket do you teach?
6th through high school.
Wow, you must be very popular with the boys.
Um, Kids are hate me.
I'm sorry.
Those 8th grade boys walk in, they're like, "You got to arm wrestle me. You're not strong. You're not tough." I'm like,
Oh no.
hormones are starting.
Oh yeah. I meant that as a compliment, because you're attractive. So I can only imagine the high school boys. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'm in Mrs. Nutter's class." Yeah.
They're
All
awesome.
right. Yeah, it's just, again, if you're a teacher, especially in that age category, obviously you have tremendous camaraderie and companionship and compassion. So you obviously fit right in with that world of powerlifting. So it shows. And I'm going to let you go enjoy your vacation.
Cool.
I'm really happy that you did this on vacation. Most people would have been like, "I'm on vacation. We'll do this afterwards." It means a lot to me. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. And enjoy the rest of your vacation. And I'll definitely be in touch.
Cool. Sounds good.
All
See
right.
ya.
I'll talk to you soon. Bye.